Welcome to Fungo Talk. I'm your host, Matt Smith, and we got co-host Matt Murata. Today on the show, we got my buddy Adam Schlenoff, recruiting coordinator for Johns Hopkins University. See, I already messed it up, Adam.
I know.
Look what happens. You get me nervous, man. So before we get started with Adam, I got a quick story. I never even knew Adam and stuff. It's funny, like we talk like we've known each other for like 20 years, but there was a showcase down. Where was that? Was that in Long Island?
Yeah.
It was down in Long Island. I was at Army. He was at Hopkins. And I didn't even have a place to stay or anything. Army sent me down, and I was like, man, I don't even have money to, like, pay for a room or anything. I was, like, volunteering still and just kind of making ends meet. And this is the cool part about, I guess, like, baseball and coaching. You just meet guys, and, like, everyone's cool, man. And Adam was like, hey, you got nowhere to stay. Stay with us. So I was, like, with him and a few other coaches, and we went out. I think, what was it, Applebee's or Buffalo Wild Wings?
Oh, it's always the Applebee's on Long Island, man.
It's the Bees of Apples. We were there. We had a good time, and then that was it. The rest is history, man. We've kind of kept in touch here and there, but awesome to see that now you've moved up the chain and recruiting coordinator. But before we get into all that, how are things at home, and what are you trying to do to be proactive right now?
Things are good. 2 kids at home. I actually moved into a new house in February. So
congrats. Nice.
Doing that, a lot of housework and doing the stay-at-home dad thing, taking care of both kids, trying to get them to, not tear down the new house. I got 2 boys, so it's a little wild. But on the D3 level, it's been nice. We've kind of benefited from all the craziness that's been going on in terms of the dead period at D1. So it's kept me busy on the recruiting side of things because we don't have to follow those same rules.
Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat with the 2 kids tearing down the house. The wife's got me painting, mowing the lawn. I'm like, I need this to open up quick because I'm doing more work than I was before when actually the country was open. But I was doing a little bit of research. 9-3 record, 7-game win streak. I mean, it stinks that the season got cut short, but what's the message to the team leading into next season? I mean, you guys got to feel pretty good about what's happening over there.
Yeah. This one really hurt, just the timing of it. Last year we finished 3rd in the country, College World Series. We were a game away from the national championship. So we returned this year almost the whole offense. We lost a couple key pieces on the offensive side. A lot of pitching we lost from the World Series team. So when we showed up this year, we had what we thought was one of the best pitching staffs that Hopkins has ever had. We did a great job bringing in some arms that were ready to go right away, and they ended up being, 3 of our top 4 arms this year were freshmen, and they were just fantastic, and it was just exciting to see kind of what they were going to do. So we were hitting our stride. We were actually down in Florida when this whole thing happened. We were on the plane, and that's when we started hearing about everybody canceling their seasons, literally on the plane. We got down to Florida. We played a game the next morning at 9 a.m. And by the time we got off the field, we all had messages on our phone saying, you got to get flights, got to come back home. So we were in Florida for about 36 hours.
That's brutal.
And, we were really excited about this year's team. And I think as a way to cope with a lot of the stress and a lot of the disappointment of this, we started looking towards next year right away. And we're in a really good place. We're not going to lose a single pitcher that was on the team this year. So everybody's coming back. We're going to lose a couple key pieces offensively, but we're in a really nice place, and we've been able to add a few transfers from because of this whole thing and guys having an extra year. We've been able to add a couple really nice pieces to.
I was going to say, I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't want to give away your secret weapons that are happening for all the other D3 guys that are like, what's going on with Hopkins right now? But yeah, that's pretty cool that you got some more pieces coming.
Yeah.
I guess for kids or for anyone that's looking to go to Hopkins and play there, if they don't know what kind of baseball Hopkins is about, I'll give you a little bit of a 3-year ordeal the past 3 years. And like you said, you already told your guys last year you were in the College World Series. So 2019, 37-13, 13-5 in the conference. 2018, 29-14, 15-3 in the conference. 2017, 38-8, 17-1 in the conference. I mean, you guys are kind of building like a little dynasty over there. So I want to know, before we get into these kids' questions, what's the secret behind the success of this program? And what's one word to describe the culture of the baseball program?
I think the secret behind this program is teaching and history. Okay. And what that is, you know, I think Coach Babb has built something that has turned into sort of a historic program. You know, he's built a brand, he's built a style of play, but also an atmosphere around, you know, creating a really inclusive and deep college experience. So, you know, I think we have an incredibly diverse team. It's going to, you know, continue to grow that way because we're committed to that. And, you know, players come here, you know, when they sit down with myself and Coach Babb and their parents, and, you know, they realize what kind of experience they're going to get from both the academic and the athletic side. And then on top of that, you add in the community service that we're doing, the culture that we have. And so family culture and giving back is really a couple of the key words that I would say about this program. You know, we do an extraordinary job of giving back to the community. I'll give one short example. Last fall into the winter, after our fall season was over, we worked with an organization in Baltimore called Heaven on Earth Now. And this organization brings in donations for food and you know, all kinds of different things that people might need. You know, families in need, vacuum cleaners and couches and, you know, anything you can imagine that someone needs if they're getting back on their feet or whatnot. So we ended up, you know, really packing up all these bags that last people about 14 days, I think 10 to 14 days in terms of food, non-perishable food. We spent about 3-4 hours helping them out. And when coronavirus hit and, you know, people didn't want to leave their houses and people didn't know where they were going to get food, especially the low income people in the city of Baltimore, they were able to take all those bags that we had created and start handing them out and really making sure that people had what they need throughout that time. So
Wow,
I think that's
great.
a big part of our program.
Yeah, no, that's huge. That's huge. And I guess I got one more question. Has anyone ever told you, beside myself, that you look like Paul Rudd? And when are you going to grow your hair out so you look just like Paul Rudd?
Well, when am I going to grow my hair out? First of all,
there it is.
A lot of hair right now.
Slapping the base.
I know. And I'm not going to complain about the fact that I can't get a haircut right now. You know, I'm just going to let it go.
Murata, what do you think? Paul Rudd or not?
I'll tell you what, that's some of the best quarantine hair I've seen. I've seen a lot of scary hair dudes during this quarantine.
Yeah, it's getting gnarly, but you know.
I love it. And Murata, I got a question. Have you ever been to the campus at Hopkins?
I have not. I mean, I've kind of talked through, you know, Johns Hopkins with some athletes and.
Oh, did we lose Maddie? There he is.
Yeah. Sorry, my head of strength called me. Can you start that again?
Oh gosh, no, of course. No, we could even keep it going. Don't worry. These things happen. It's okay. It was more about the question of, have you ever been to the campus at Johns Hopkins?
Yeah, no, I personally haven't. I've done a lot of research on it. And, you know, obviously just with kids, you know, a lot of kids love Johns Hopkins just because, like Coach is saying, you get the perfect experience with the facilities, the field, the education, and really the experience. I mean, what you're doing is, you know, you're realistically getting almost an Ivy League type education while managing baseball, while managing your time. So, you know, I just feel like there's so many life lessons there, you know, when you're challenging these kids on all levels. And to have success like that, I mean, you know, when these kids get into the work world or whatever they end up doing, you know, they're going to be successful.
Yeah, no doubt. I guess that brings us to our first question, talking about favorite things. Adam, what's your favorite thing about the university itself and what it offers to student athletes?
Well, I'm definitely biased in this, and I gotta back up because we've had a couple mistakes on the podcast so far. One big one. So we got to remember it's Johns Hopkins.
Johns Hopkins.
You're right. Yes, because there is a Hopkins school out there, right?
I don't. There's a Hopkins school in, I think, Connecticut, a high school.
But they want to be known as Johns Hopkins University.
Who does?
Oh no, is that what we were talking about?
No,
is that what you said?
Our school is Johns. Johns is the name of the school.
What did I say? I said John.
John. Everybody makes the mistake. I know.
The school's gonna come down on me hard for that.
Thank God. Thank God for our editing staff here. All right, so we're ready to roll.
Clean that up.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, let me ask the question again.
Okay.
Since we're talking about favorite things about the university, what is your favorite thing about Johns Hopkins University itself and what it offers to the student athletes?
My favorite thing about Johns Hopkins is the fact that it's in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a Baltimore, Maryland guy through and through. It's just it's a city, but it's got a small town feel. Okay. Our campus is absolutely beautiful. It's located, right in the upper part of the city, so we're not right downtown, but it's an easy kind of Uber ride down to Baltimore to go to Camden Yards or all the restaurants and everything that's down there, the aquarium. So it feels like a rural campus when you get sort of in between the walls. But again, you're going to get the city life and the city experience as well. So, that's what I think stands out for me the most.
Yeah, I had some buddies that went to Towson, and we would pass because we would go to the Inner Harbor, and we would pass Johns Hopkins, and I'd be like, dude, I was like, you guys should have went here. You guys blew it. Because I'm like, passing by, this campus is beautiful. You got that turf field. I mean, the athletic fields there are fantastic. So, I mean, and plus they got the Diesel lacrosse team over there. So, I mean, you got all the sweet gear. I see you rocking it right now on that sweatshirt that I might need to get one of those. But now I guess that brings us to the next question. So since we're talking about going from the university to now the athletics, what are the type of players you look for, when you bring guys into this program?
Yeah. So, we are in a position, everybody has their challenges when it comes to recruiting. We're in a position where we don't get any slots. We don't get any guaranteed admissions. There's very little that we can do as a coaching staff, aside from really just supporting players and making sure that our admissions department knows that these are guys that we're really looking after. But the bottom line is everybody that we recruit has to fit sort of the profile of the admissions department and what they're looking for applicants. So that's number one. We have to scour the country. And if you look at our roster, you'll see, there are people from every single corner of the country. We even had a player come from the great state of Hawaii last year who unfortunately had an injury, wasn't able to make the team this year, but he's going to come out next year. But like I said, we got to go over the entire country, find guys that fit that academic profile, and then figure out what our needs are in a given year. I think we're pretty lucky in that we have a really nice facility and a really great brand at Hopkins. And so you add in those things, the longevity of Coach Babb, how long he's been here, the success that we've had. When we recruit, we like to, go after kids that are, and everybody's trying to do this, but are going after kids that are maybe a little bit, in that D1 level, guys that might be looking at Ivy League schools or Patriot League schools or, around that type of talent level. And so, I think the biggest thing is we look for offensively is guys who can have a little bit of power. It's something that we thrive on. We play to our field. Our field is a little bandbox. So we want to recruit guys that we know can hit the ball in the air. And on the pitching side of things, obviously we want to recruit guys who can keep the ball down. So play to our field a little bit as well.
Yeah. What about the summer camp? Do you have a lot of kids that show up to your camps, whether it's in the summer or the fall, or? Yeah,
we're very lucky again in that, you know, a lot of kids sort of recruit us. You know, they look around and they say, okay, I want something in medicine. I'm looking for something in medicine, and Hopkins obviously comes up right away. Or engineering. We have a really strong engineering program at Hopkins now. So we have a lot of those guys who end up recruiting us and reaching out and saying, hey, you know, can I come to one of your camps? So we do pretty well. We do a 2-day camp in August, and, you know, I'd say between 80 and 100 players show up. So
oh, wow.
Doing pretty good with that one.
No, that is pretty good. So since we're talking about, I guess, the academic side, right? This is a high academic school. Are you guys big into like the analytics when you work with your players? Like, do you guys use Rapsodo and hit tracks, or these things that the kids want to see, you know, being those guys that are probably so smart, they like this information?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, no, we have 2 Rapsodo. We actually got a second Rapsodo this year pitching because
oh, wow.
We wanted to make sure we could get everybody on it. And, you know, it's sort of like a cluster when you have, you know, 20 pitchers and you only have 1 Rapsodo. So getting a second Rapsodo was big. That way we can get our guys a lot more data, a lot more feedback that way. And we do a lot of that in the fall into the winter. So in our fall season, we're going to, you know, put our guys on the Rapsodo and get those numbers early so that they know what they need to work on throughout the winter. Because obviously we can't work with them being a D3 program. The hit tracks comes in handy really as we're getting closer and closer to the season. So offensively, you know, I'm the hitting coach. And so I take sort of an input oriented approach all the way up till about 2 weeks before the season starts. And so what that means is, you know, I'm going to be working with mechanics and movement patterns and really trying to build good swings. And then as we get really close to the season, then we really want to switch gears and start going towards the output, the result-driven approach. And that's where hit tracks is really awesome, because obviously you can get all that data, all that information, and you're moving away from the mechanic side of things and moving into, you know, trying to get results.
Yeah. Maddie, I think you use the hit tracks right now, right? I think you're still pitching and topping at 90, still trying to send it out to the pro guys.
Yeah, we're lucky enough to have the pitching and the hitting hit tracks. I use the hitting hit tracks probably to my advantage sometimes in the morning when I'm feeling like I could still play again. So it's always fun. But, you know, great tools. I think it always depends on the athlete that's using it. You know, if they're too analytical, you might want to tone some things back. But, you know, I think there's so much good from it, you know, especially when you're trying to make changes or adjustments or, you know, get them to see your side of things. It's great to kind of show them the tech and be like, hey, listen, every time you're hitting the ball to right field, you know, you're getting more flails. Like you hit 8 balls to right field, you know, and this is your trajectory. What are you doing with your swing? You know, bat speed. I think all that stuff is great. I think it's a constant. I think it keeps the kids competitive too. You know, as long as on the pitching side, they know they're not going to go up a mile an hour. Every bullpen, and there's going to be other X factor days that are going to affect it. So if they're a mile down the week later or 2 days after they've thrown, you know, that's perfectly normal. I think everyone wants to get to the top velocity and throw harder. You know, so I think as long as we can kind of tone these guys down and teach them how to use the equipment, I think it's awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, these kids are lucky, that's for sure. I mean, I guess when we were all growing up and playing, I mean, the stuff that we had, there was, you know, nothing. I mean, we still had dial-up aim where we had to wait and that noise, that crazy noise was going. But now you have all this information at the tip of a finger. So, no, I'm for it. I like it. I think, like you guys said, if you use it in the right way, you know, it could be very beneficial. So I also looked up the school itself. Number 10 nationally ranked university in the country. How do your players balance the sports and academics and still get that, you know, college experience?
So it goes back to the recruiting question. Because we have to recruit these guys who are, you know, outstanding students in high school, And really in high school, they're probably balancing more than they end up balancing in college in most cases. Many of these guys are multi-sport athletes. They've got extracurriculars. They've got, student government. They've got APs. They've got all these different things that they're doing in high school. When they get to college, a lot of times they realize they have a lot more time. So, just the recruiting process in general ends up giving us sort of a slight advantage of guys who can multitask and balance all that stuff. They realize right when they get there that, everybody else at Hopkins is working as hard or if not harder than them, whether they're athletes or not. And so it's a little bit of a rat race, right? They're trying to keep up with everybody else. And as is the case with most, I think, baseball players in general, baseball players are just uber competitive people and they want to win at everything they do. And so whether it's, taking a physics class or, lifting, our guys want to win. They want to, beat the next person. So there's a lot of competition on the academic side as well to make sure that you're, doing well and getting that done. And the fact that we're Division III, I think, really benefits us again. Our guys get a lot of time to really make sure that their academics are shored up throughout the winter, so that when we get to February 1, which is when our conference allows us to start working again, our guys are usually in a really good place academically.
Yeah. This is why I buttoned up my my buttons all the way to the top. I figured top 10 school. I got to really, make this preppy and professional.
You got to class it up a little bit.
I got to class it up. But I think that's what's so important about, you look at the real world and the guys that get hired. I mean, you talk about time management. When you go to a school like this, there's really no way you could kind of fake it on the academic side. And then sports-wise, to show that, hey, not only is it just a D3, but it's a very competitive D3 where it's about winning. And, for me, if I'm a boss, a CEO, and I look at this kid and I do all my research and I'm like, hey, Johns Hopkins, a top academic school and a program that's actually winning. There's a culture of winning. I think that's huge when you hire a guy. Sometimes you look at a baseball program and the school's maybe good and the program's kind of on the downside. You're like, is this kid really competitive? So you look at those programs and sometimes that winning mentality is huge, for a guy. So, I think that's why it was almost a trick question maybe, right? Because I think, and I think we all know this, is there's just so much sacrifice when it comes to being a student athlete, right? I mean, compared to someone that doesn't play sports, you go to class and then you have all this time where, you don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. You don't have to wake up early to go on a double header on the weekend. So I just think it's great.
For 12 or 14 hours.
Yeah, listen, I think it's just you get an early taste of the real world and what it takes to be committed to something and, hard work and stuff. So I'm sure Maddie could agree with that. So.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think just like you said, that competitiveness, when he goes on into the work world and he's got 4 other guys that he's competing with on a numbers side, he's used to competing. He's used to going to 6 a.m. lifts. He's used to the accountability. He's used to working in groups. So, I just love the sport of baseball and I love, what athletes can really do in the work world. Because just like Coach is saying, that competitiveness, now once they're done with baseball, now they put it towards, their work. So, CEOs, people that are hiring people, athletes are super competitive. And I think there's so much to be said, like you're saying, is the commitment side. It's homework, it's these bus trips. They're doing homework on the bus. They're trying to do a college curriculum while managing a full-time sport. I mean, let's be honest, the college baseball is a full-time sport. So really commendable.
Yeah.
And plus, I'll add in,
go ahead, Adam.
If you look at a lot of the jobs that, that a lot of these high academic schools are going for, right? The graduates of these schools are going for, the first 3 to 5 years is brutal. You talk to some of these graduates that are going to work on Wall Street or work for an analytics firm or, a computer science company, right? Going to program something. These guys are working 12-hour days. Our engineers, they're working 12-hour days. And it's, 3 to 5 years that they're putting in that grind. And like you said, if you're going to hire somebody, you want to know that that person can handle, a long day, multiple long days, balancing a lot of different things. So, when you really, when these guys come back and you talk to them about what their job is like, you realize, what we put them through was probably almost not even enough for what they're about to do in the real world.
No doubt. No doubt. And the biggest thing too is that team setting, right? You got guys that are working, it's an individual thing, but it's for a team goal. So they know how to work, hard by themselves, but to attain something in a team setting.
Yeah.
So,
it's not like our jobs, man. Our jobs are easy, right? We got the easy path.
Listen, we do. And I think the biggest thing about coaching, right? And I'm sure both of you guys, it's just being able to communicate with these guys and bring out the best in them, right? It is an easy job, but you know what? It's big because a coach has that ability to kind of bring the confidence out of a player or kind of could take it away. So I think it's huge for us to know how to, I guess the easy part is our job. The tough part is, I guess, dissecting each individual, right? Because I think you have to attack each kid differently because everyone's personality is different. So I think that's the tricky part where you may be able to get on someone harder and not do it to the same kid. He might need a little more positive reinforcement where another kid might need a little kick in the butt or something. So
that's a great point, Matt.
Yeah. I got to do it to my kids, right? I'm tough on my son, and then my daughter, I'm giving her the kisses and stuff. My son's like, what the hell's going on here? So, but I guess the next question, is it hard to recruit guys to Johns Hopkins University because there's no athletic scholarship?
The short answer is yes. Anytime that the people we're recruiting against may have an advantage there, but there's also sort of a sad reality to where recruiting is right now and the state of baseball. And I think you guys would probably agree with me on this. Baseball's become about how much money you can pay, right? To get on the best travel team when you're young, to be a club, baseball player in the summer, every summer, most of these guys are playing year round, and that costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money to be able to support your son in that endeavor from the time they're probably 8 years old. You're probably talking about tens of thousands of dollars that these families are investing. And then unfortunately, what that means is the players that we're looking at, and not everyone, but the majority, I would say, are coming from really fortunate, well-endowed families. And so a lot of times they have the ability to take finances out of it. So I'd say that that in itself levels the playing field a little bit. But sure, yeah, anytime that we're going after that real program changer player, he's probably got a couple offers from some D1s. The timeline also helps us a little bit. Our timeline is much later than anybody else's. So we can't really commit to a player until August or September.
Yeah.
So if there's a player who's going to get an offer in June or July or even before that, if he's not willing to wait, we're not going to get him anyway.
Well, what about academically? If the kid's really at the top of his class and the SATs are up there, is there academic money that they can qualify for, or not necessarily that?
Every single person at Hopkins deserves merit money.
You're right.
So they're not going to give it to the athletes.
Well, what are the requirements to get into Johns Hopkins University? You pretty much need to be, I guess, a straight A student and yeah. So your I guess the answer to that, to talk to these kids, your scholarship money will come when you get that 6-figure job that you'll be making probably once you're done.
Graduates of the class of 2019, I guess the last year, the average starting salary was $73,000. Average starting salary. So I think they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I'd say they're doing pretty well right now. I guess I got one more question, but before we get to the Moneyball question, where no stumpers with the Moneyball, it's something more on the fun side that Murata likes to do. What does the day-to-day practice look like with the program, and how do you challenge these guys to keep it competitive?
Yeah, when I got to Hopkins 10 years ago now, it's pretty wild that I've been there 10 years, but I was amazed how much we hit. And that's one of the things that stood out to me. I never hit this much in my career at any location that I ever was. But, we try to give our guys hundreds of swings a day. So that's one of the things I think separates us. We're really lucky in that we have a deep coaching staff. So we can throw a lot of BP. We have a lot of machines. We got an E-hack attack that can, throw velocity to these guys. And so we've got a lot of different ways to make sure they're getting swings in. That's one of the things that really stood out about our practices was the number of swings that we get. And then there's also the amount of teaching that we do. We're firm believers that, we want to be led every year by juniors and seniors. And the reason is because we're developing those players. We're willing to put in the time, put in the energy when we can to be able to get our guys better. And if we're constantly relying on freshmen to carry our team, then that means we haven't done a good job with our juniors and seniors.
I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah.
So we're really putting that in. Now, that isn't to say if our freshmen are better than the juniors or seniors because we did a really good job recruiting or we just got lucky.
Yeah.
We're going to play those guys. And in the last 2 years, we've had some really, really great success. And I think that's one of the reasons we've been so successful in bringing in some program changing type of talent. So
now, is there a method behind the madness of let's hit a lot?
Is there a method behind it? I think it's just more along the lines of, making sure that everybody gets an equal amount of work. I've been on teams where the starters get more work and so forth, so on like that. But I think our idea is that if we hit more than the next guy, then we're getting better, and that's sort of our competitive nature is we want to do things better than, the next best team in our conference, whoever that might be. And if we're doing more and we're working harder, we feel like that's going to give us an advantage.
Yeah. Now, what's your stance on the new school versus old school where everyone's trying to kind of get the ball in the air launch angle compared to stay on top and try and hit those line drive hard grounders?
So again, when I got to Hopkins in 2010, first thing Coach Babb said to me was, we teach hitting the ball in the air. So this was 2010. Now we've talked about it a lot since. He started teaching this in about the year 2000, right around there. And what he started realizing was, ground balls and teaching to hit the ball on the ground just wasn't producing runs. You look at sort of the basic idea of baseball, obviously to score runs. And the best way to score runs is to accumulate bases. All right. Now, if you're not going to steal 30 bases a season, then you better not be hitting a lot of singles. So, like I said, for the last 20 years, we've been teaching, getting under the ball and really driving the ball to the outfield, keeping the ball off the ground so that we can accumulate bases with doubles and home runs, which we like to hit a lot of. We led the country last year with 83. So
you guys are doing something right. I would love to be a fly on that wall with they probably got the Excel sheets and the PowerPoints going and stuff like that. So
yeah, we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff going on. But guys, you bring a guy in and you say, look, our fundamental principle is hit the ball out of the ballpark. They get around that pretty easy. They like having fun with that. So
hey, listen, chicks dig the long ball, baby. So I like what you guys are teaching over there. And that brings us to the Moneyball question. So go ahead, Murata, take us away.
Coach, so this is a little bit more of a two-part question. The first question being, I know you guys obviously have to recruit later based on, you're waiting for guys in the D1, the Ivy Leagues to kind of make decisions. You're waiting for SATs to be taken again. Do you feel like that's an advantage on letting kids develop? I mean, I know in the last 10 years, we've all tried to kind of get ahead of each other with, recruiting on top of the next guy. And you see it with the D1s, like, everyone's trying to keep up with the Vanderbilts of the world. And, now you're seeing 8th graders or 9th graders verbal. So, do you think there's an advantage to kind of letting a left-handed pitcher put 10 pounds on his junior year and really developing? Do you think the maturity factor we're kind of losing, or just kind of recruiting kids, that mature earlier and not really letting that kid develop? So what's your stance on that?
Yeah, junior year is a crazy year for a young man, right? You're 16, 17 years old. That's when your body is really starting to change. So the change that we see from, the summer after their sophomore year to the summer after their junior year is incredible. And that gives us a huge advantage, I think. If we can see a kid, in that first summer, right before their junior year, and then see how much they've developed in that 1 year, you usually, can start projecting or predicting where they might be in another year, which is then when they come into Hopkins. So come into our program. So yeah, no, I mean, I think being able to see that change in that single year, being that it's such an impactful year in a young man's life, sure, that gives us an advantage.
And definitely the second question is, obviously you guys recruit nationally because it's a great place to play and obviously learn. So you can't just go to a normal showcase. I mean, what are the best avenues? Obviously a show ball. You guys need to make sure that you're recruiting a certain GPA, a certain SAT score. So like, what are the best route for you? I'm a big camp route guy. I love selfishly going to the campus, meeting the coaches, being on the field, and really getting a feel. But, what are some other avenues, obviously, since you guys do recruit nationally, and have to just make sure you're not wasting your time watching one player that's at your level?
Yeah. So we take a advantage of all of the different recruiting websites, let's call them, or organizations, whatever, subscription things that are out there. And probably since last, October, November, when I finished with my 2020 class, really finished on November 1st, which was our early decision deadline in 2019. So starting in December of 2019, going into January of this year, is when I started scouring the country online, really looking for players and starting to build those relationships. So I'd say, 20 to 30, 40, maybe 40 players I've been in contact with now for 6 to 7 months. And then it's, like building those relationships recruiting is nothing but building relationships. So starting that way, that's gives me kind of like a foot up, I think, on a lot of the other D3 programs or even some of the D1s who are in the quiet period. And then, yeah, the showcases is where we're going to find guys that, we didn't even talk to, we've never heard of before. They're there to see an Ivy League school or a Patriot League school, or, they're there to see Duke. And they, they quickly realize, okay, Duke is not somewhere that I'm going to be able to play. And again, that's when you can build that relationship. You can talk to that player after the showcase is over, obviously. And, you can, you can just find some guys that way as well. So yeah, the showcase route is really great. I'd say probably every year we get 1 to 2 players from our camp. And these are guys that maybe I've been in communication with for a while, and we haven't been able to cross paths at any of the showcases or any of the camps prior to our camp at Hopkins. So give a good example. Last year, we had or 2 years ago, sorry, we had a kid who was from Tennessee, just never really crossed paths. He was actually hurt for a good majority of the summer. He came to our October camp because he was hurt and just didn't get that offer. We signed him right away. We saw him at our camp, signed him right away. And so he started last year as a freshman, the 2019-2020 year. And this spring, he was our number 2 starter as a freshman. Wow. So he, we got him extremely late. He was somebody that we just kept in contact with and built that relationship. And He ended up being one of our top guys, and going into next year, he's got, as a sophomore, but with 4 years of eligibility still, some pretty bright future.
I think that's so important. Oh, go ahead, Maddie. Go ahead.
No, Adam, you just said it. I mean, you made a great point, and any great recruiter, keeps in contact, because how many times does it happen where, you're keeping contact with a guy for 6 months? He might pick an Ivy League school, and then, he might decide to leave that school, and then he's calling you because you've now recruited him. So, how important is that? Obviously, you guys get guys that transfer in because it's so attractive. I mean, is that a big factor as well?
Until this year, no. We have not gotten transfers very often. Now, the one exception would be our College World Series team. Our All-American pitcher was a transfer from Middlebury. So we thank the Middlebury team up there for sending him down our way. He ended up going 13-0 that season.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
He had a pretty amazing year. And we've had transfers before that as well, but just wasn't anything really consistent. This year, we felt like we were in a pretty unique time period, a bubble, let's call it, where being in the College World Series last year, we thought this team could do it again. And with our pitching staff coming back, we feel like next year is another opportunity. So we went pretty hard this year, and we're able to bring in some guys who we think can step in right away and help us bridge that gap between last year's team and the freshmen that we're bringing in this year, so that we don't have to rely on too many freshmen. We can bring in some experienced players and kind of keep that train rolling.
That was a great question by Maddie. And two things stood out to me from what you just said. Staying in contact with these coaches are so important. And that showcase is huge. If, say you're a late bloomer or you run into an injury, going to that, keeping in contact and going to that showcase at the school that could be a difference maker for the kid that's like, you know what, I'm not going to contact him, and, maybe I won't go, or hopefully he sees me, right? I mean, be proactive when you do these things. I think you have to, because there's so many kids out there. And number two, for the kids that are like all gung-ho, I'm going to go D1 in this, and then they don't get an opportunity. Look what just happened to this kid at a school. Comes down 13-0. You talk about possibly getting a look at to get drafted or pick up because you're making A, some noise, and B, you become the man on campus and you're having a great college career. So I think those are things to think about when kids are so in love with, I want to go D1, right? No one really, like, at the end of the day, I think these kids, it's just like to say I played Division I, but they don't understand, like, it's just about playing and getting experience, because you could get picked up out of anywhere.
Yeah, the pro side of things, being in Baltimore, I think we get a little bit more experience, a little bit more exposure than a lot of schools anyway. But I will tell you this, that, if you're a really high academic player and you're not a Vanderbilt kid or a Stanford kid, we all know, that's a totally different level. Yeah. But if you're a really high academic good player, then if you want a true experience, right? And that's what you're looking for. There's no better experience than winning a national championship. It's just, there's nothing that comes close to that. And, we've been really, really close, and I think we're right on that bubble. So, just the experience of going to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is kind of a weird town, I will tell you. Just an odd place to host a national championship. But no, the experience of going there and being around the best players and at our level, 390 schools, the last 8 are there. And it's an experience that you're not going to get at a lot of those other high academic D1 schools. Yeah,
no, I agree. One last thing before we wrap it up. What's your favorite team bonding thing that you guys like to do to kind of get guys out of their comfort zone and get to know each other and everyone? I think that's huge. And my wife works for the MLB Network, and they do some icebreaker stuff. And I was like, I think it's great. And I know colleges do this and stuff like that. Maddie and I played Division II at St. Thomas Aquinas. Our coach would have us hike a mountain, which kind of got a little dangerous once a boulder almost took someone's head off. But it was fun. And it built a lot of chemistry and bonding. So I want to know if there's something you guys like to do.
There's a lot of little things. They do a Halloween game. That's a lot of fun where they dress up in
Nice.
costumes and play the game on the field. Our guys do a Blue Jay Challenge, which is like a Olympic style competition where they videotape it and we put it on Twitter and stuff like that. I gotta keep kind of going back to this, the academic side of Hopkins, in that, you're just not going to have the same exact opportunities to do things like that as you would at other schools. Our guys are working their tails off so much that, they're going to get opportunities to have fun. Our guys do have fun. There's no question about that. But, we don't want to take up a lot of time from what they need to be doing in the classroom.
Of course.
So, but those type of things, and the community service stuff that we do, we go down to a park at the beginning of the season, and we help out an organization that helps pick up trash and clean up the park and pull out weeds and things like that. So,
well, stuff like that definitely counts. Yeah, I think stuff like that, it brings a team together when you do stuff, giving back. So, what about a baseball game? Since you guys are so close to the Oriole Stadium, do you guys have any affiliation with them, like a practice or anything, or?
Not really.
Come on, Paul Rudd. This is where you come in. Set it up. If the Orioles are listening, let's do it, guys.
In most years, the most we do there is in a normal year when we have players on campus in the fall, our recruits on campus in the fall. We'll have a kind of group game where we take them down to the Oriole game, but no, nothing too much after that.
I think we should have you throw out the first pitch. That'd be something awesome.
Yeah, well, Coach Babb did that a couple years ago.
That's sick.
Yeah, he was given the award for it was like the Orioles Community Service Award. So he went down to Oriole Park and he was able to get on the big screen and get that award. So that was
fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
you guys led the country in homers. So I think it's your turn to throw the first pitch.
There you go. That's true. Give the hitting coach a little bit of love.
My first year as the associate head coach too.
I love it. I love it.
So how rewarding is that? I mean, to get accolades as a player, but when you're with these guys for months and you're preaching hitting and to at the end of the year reach that goal. I mean, how much more special is that? Even nothing as a player could even top that. I mean, as a coach, how special is that?
It's everything, man. It's everything. And there's always that one player as a coach that you just look at and you're like, man, like I am so proud of that guy. That's my guy. And you love them all. You're glad they all have success. But man, there was one player on that team that I just felt I had put so much time and energy and effort into, and he was my son's favorite player too. I have a 6-year-old, so That's son
awesome.
Is a little lefty. This guy was a lefty. He loved him, and to see him have success, and I think he hit like 600 in the College World Series.
Oh,
he everything awesome. Everything he hit was a double. But it was really fun. That was awesome. So yeah, take a little pride in something like that.
That's the special part of this that people don't really get to see is when you watch that upperclassman that went through a lot, kind of have his shining moment. You're just it's almost like you're his dad. Like you're so proud of him. And, I think that's incredible. I miss that probably the most.
That's awesome. Listen, kids out there, if you love Paul Rudd, if you love turf, if you love the color blue and you love your launch angle and homers, Johns Hopkins is the place for you. Adam, this was awesome. I got to give it 2 shout-outs. One to my dad, happy birthday. Turned 70 today. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the baseball player I am. And I got to thank James Gregory. He got us these hats. Uh-oh, I lost it. It's lost in the Fungo Talk. Wait, there it is, hat game. He made us these hats, nice. So I got to thank my buddy. We played together.
You better send me one of those hats too.
Listen, I will. I think that's the best part about just baseball, right? Everyone's kind of supporting each other. It's real. The relationships are real. The emotions are real. So this was awesome. I'm looking forward to watching you guys take the whole thing next year. And
I got one more thing to say to you.
Uh-oh, say it.
Look at us. Look at us. Just look at us. Look at us.
I love it. We're going to Camden Yards. We're gonna have a few a few Cokes and Pepsis and hot dogs. We'll have a good time with Murata.
That'd be great. No more Applebee's. We'll go up to the big leagues.
That's it. My diet's out the window. We're going up to the real thing. Adam, thanks again, man. Hi to the family, and we'll talk soon.
All right, Matt. Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.